and she gave out silver dollars to all the grandkids. And there were about, at the time, there were like kind of like 56 first cousins and second cousins, so there were many of us. But my grandmother, the gift that we got was a silver dollar. And at one time I had about 15 or 20 of her silver dollars. I got them from other people sometimes too. And they went all the way back to dates like 1876 and 1887 and whatever. They were wonderful. Well, I want to tell you, I made a lot of mistakes in my life. One of my mistakes was when I was 11, 12, 13 years old, in the summertime we played a lot of baseball. My buddies would come over and wake me up and say, let's go bowling. And I didn't have money to go bowling, so I took my silver dollars and spent a lot of them. And I look back now and go, man, I wish I'd still had those silver dollars. So I spent a lot of my coins that I used to have on frivolous things, bowling and different things. But you know what? Hey, I was working hard as a kid. I went bowling. I had a good time. I learned how to handle my money. Might have been a bad decision, but having something of your own is wonderful. Okay, so let me tell you, though, a story that I want to share with you, that on that walk with Jim Gilday, this story about having something in your back pocket that you can have that is yours, that gives you hope to carry on. And I called Jim up a couple days ago, and he was going on a family reunion, I think it is, for 5 or 6 days with his wife. I would have had him on the show today for this show. This particular theme I'd already scheduled, and that's why I called him. I said, hey, Jim, will you give me 5 or 10 minutes and tell me that story again? Because that was an incredibly powerful story. And he said, yeah. So on the phone a couple of nights ago, we talked for an hour, but he is such a wonderful person. He took notes on this, and he wanted me to have his notes. And instead of just telling me the story so that I could kind of give you the guts of the story, he gave me some notes. And I'm going to share this with you now without any editing or any further conversation until after I've read it. But so please just let me give it to you. His notes are approximately 12 points in each of his paragraph. So here's the story. And Jim's retired, and he's in his early to mid 70s right now. And he said that he had a friend that was when he was about 14 years old, and they were Explorer Scouts, Boy Scout kind of thing. And they were both in school between the 8th grade and when they were to become freshmen in high school. The year was 1956 or so is what he says in his notes. 12 boys from Norfolk, Virginia were able to sign up for a 2-week hiking trip at the Philmont Scout Ranch in northern New Mexico. 1956, northern New Mexico from Virginia. That's a long way. I'm going to stop and stick to the script here and come back afterwards because I could elaborate on this every paragraph. It was a put-together group of boys. Each knew only 1 to 4 of the other boys. There were 14 of them that he said were in this group. However, the adult leader had most likely volunteered to the local scouting council and volunteered for this assignment. My friend was not an explorer post. He was not in an explorer post, but he was led to this man that I'm going to tell you about. When I say I'm talking about Jim, and when he says my friend, that's his friend that went on this trip with him. Lieutenant Colonel John M. Wright was the leader. There were several breaking the ice overnights that they had hiking in the Shenandoah National Park along the Appalachian Trail and other park trails that were there. Colonel Wright, for whatever reason, was basically a, quote, here and now leader with his troop and his group of men here, young men. However, it turned out that 14 years earlier, so we're talking about 1942, Colonel Wright had been captured by the Japanese in the Philippines, and he had survived the extended Bataan Death March. And he became a prisoner of war with the Japanese and was put into a war camp. Subsequently, The prisoners of war were loaded and basically herded into the hull of a cargo ship to be transported to prisoner of war camps in Japan. Colonel Wright spoke little of that experience that he had survived or the rest of the war. However, at least once during these 2 Philmont weeks when they were in New Mexico hiking, he spoke of the strategy and the survival pact that he and a paired-up prisoner made with each other. They were handed 1 canteen of water to share over the transit to Japan for what was a trip of unknown duration. Colonel Wright shared with his group the part that he shared with his fellow POW. They would not begin to drink the water from their canteen no matter how thirsty they would get. During the voyage, others consumed their water until there was none left and no more was distributed. My friend remembers, as clear as a bell, Colonel Wright's comment that some significant portion of the prisoners did not survive the journey once they had consumed their water and lost all hope. The phrase he remembers Colonel Wright saying softly, "They went mad." The lesson was clear. Take priority steps to assure hope, whatever the situation, and you will be more promising with a chance of success no matter how challenging it may be. The year 1956 was approximately one halfway through Colonel Wright's career. My friend eventually lost track of Colonel Wright, but remembers reading that a General John M. Wright commanded the 1st Air Cavalry Division in Vietnam about 1970. How many people other than my friend did Colonel Wright so strongly influence during his career? An aside, at least in the mid-50s, the slogan for Philmont Ranch was, "Come as a boy, leave as a man." Would 50... Let me get this last part done here. Okay, I got the note now. This is the last paragraph of my friend Jim's notes that he gave me. This was very important. The colonel took them on hikes when they're trying to make these young boys become men. And what he said to them was, walk for 50 minutes, do not stop, do not stop, do not give in for 50 minutes, and we will take a 10-minute rest. Colonel Wright taught Jim and the others at this camp as young men how to discipline themselves and how to keep moving forward and how to survive, basically. And that's why the expression, he was instrumental in, they came to camp as boys and they left as men. Okay, it was hard for me, and I apologize not making any comments while I was reading that story, but I'll make a few now. My friend Jim has carried this story with him for 60 years. And when we walked that day around my neighborhood, and I shared the concept of having assets, something to fall back in your back pocket, how the coin collection has always been something that made me feel like I had achieved something, that I had some success, that I had something that I could fall back on. Because sometimes the world, you cannot identify who is there. That's one of the things about the world that's very difficult. Sometimes you just don't see or believe that there's anybody out there that cares about you, that wants to help you. And all of you that I'm speaking to, when you move forward in your life and get through hardships, or when you're trying to teach your children lessons, a lot of people that listen to my show are not going through specific hardships right now. They are mentoring other people that are going through hardships. And I thank them for listening to my show and giving me some of their comments and insights that help me get new things that I can share with people. I just want to be there to help people find better ways to move on with their lives and stabilize. But the theme here is, if you've got something in your back pocket, it will give you hope and encouragement, self-reliance. It'll give you this confidence that I'm still standing. I'm not gone yet. I'm still fighting. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I'm a karate master, and I developed a wounded animal philosophy. One of the most dangerous animals in the world is a lion that's wounded in a cave with its back up against the wall, with its pride around him. You do not want to try to pet a lion that's been wounded in a cave. Yeah, so the thing is, you learn to hunker down and learn to go into your deeper inner self. And a little comment that I'm going to give you is, but don't stay inside yourself. Go straight up to the Lord, and then he will give you that strength that you're looking for. With that said, I want to thank Jim for inspiring me with the story that he gave me these notes on. That I had not expected that he would do that. So I just want to speak directly to Jim for a second. Jim, you are just a fine, fine man. And what you've shared through me today with our listeners, I believe will inspire many, many people for years to come, just like you said to me. You can't add up the number of people that Colonel Wright might have talked to and all the different camps that he led and all the different associations he had with men under his command. But what I'm trying to say here is thank you, Jim. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you when you get back from your trip and I get back from mine. Listeners, I do a lot of shows with different people that I bring on to try to help encourage you and motivate you. And I've done a couple shows with Don Green, the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, a nonprofit whose purpose is to help make the world a better place in which to live. And we did a whole show that I would encourage you to go back to and listen to on the Mastermind Group. Don Green, executive director of Napoleon Hill Foundation, speaking on the Mastermind Group. And one of the things that I always say is that, you know, Right Thinking Foundation, even though it's a financial education program, it's not just about money. In fact, it's only 25%, give or take, about money. It's really 75% about persevering, not quitting, surrounding yourself with the right people, making good decisions. Our associations in life will make or break us. Who we choose to hang out with. And so I gave a whole show with Dave Richards on the concept of quality and relationships and what is quality, and our parents want us to become a quality person and have quality friends. All of the shows on Right Thinking are all geared with the same type of messages that I'm trying to communicate to you. And so today we've covered a little scripture. I've told you a couple stories. And so let me do some more with you. I just want to tell you that if you learn how to handle your finances in ways that are geared toward thinking about the future, thinking about having some reserves, thinking about having something for a rainy day. If you live like that, you won't be in a crisis mode as much. And that's the whole point of Right Thinking Foundation. The program is based on the premise that if a person is under financial stress, he or she will make bad decisions. A person that has been incarcerated and is making bad decisions has a very high chance that he or she will recidivate. The program teaches an overall awareness of how money works in a person's life and provides tools that will assist them as they learn to think and plan ahead, making right decisions, reducing the amount of stress in their lives and not reverting back to the old ways of thinking that resulted in their incarceration. Let me share something with you. There's a national statistic that I learned 5 years ago. If a person has been incarcerated and they come out and they're not working, they don't have a job, they're really trying to reestablish themselves reacclimate into society, come back into society.